On today's hot sheet, I am discussing the Sitzer Burnett verdict, a Lance Lambert tweet on falling real estate stocks, reasons why homeowners are staying in their current homes, and the fastest real estate markets. Today is Wednesday, November 1st, 2023. I am Byron Lazine, and the hot sheet starts now. I was smiling on the intro because I'm on the phone. Literally, Haley's like, "We are going live in 5 seconds," and I'm on the phone with an industry leader that probably everybody knows. I think I could imagine that that's the case, and I'm getting the information that maybe you have heard or haven't heard. But Follow Up Boss has been bought by Zillow. Zillow acquires Follow Up Boss. That's been in the works the last couple of weeks, announced today, this morning. Follow Up Boss bought out by Zillow in their mission to create a super app, hearing 400 million plus another 200 million. So beats the Boomtown numbers, big numbers. I mean, if there isn't a more newsworthy week in real estate, you've got tech news. That's a huge acquisition for Zillow. Obviously, we've got the lawsuit. We've got Jerome Powell making his announcement this afternoon of what the Fed's decision is going to be. It's a Fed week on top of all of this. So we're going to jump into the lawsuit first. I just wanted to mention, it just came across my desk here, the Follow Up Boss being acquired by Zillow. So I figured I'd mention it to you. If you want a real in-depth reaction of the verdict that came down yesterday, we immediately did a 90-minute live stream right here on the channel. By the way, thank you for joining the hot sheet. Consider subscribing and hit the bell if you want those like instant lives that we will do spur of the moment as things break. We had well over 700 people on the live. I think the video's up over 6,000 maybe or something, 7,000, whatever it is. At this point, it's in the live tab. We had 90 minutes reaction. We took calls from you, and we were just reacting live in the moment. Okay, so the verdict and all the details is up on nowbam.com. It is in. The Sitzer Burnett jury obviously awards the plaintiffs $1.785 billion. Now, NAR has come out with their statement already saying that they will appeal. NAR is obviously going to appeal and try to take this as high as they can up the chain. Obviously, they feel like getting outside of Kansas City, Missouri might benefit them. My argument would be based on NAR's performance, not only the last 2 weeks during the trial, but the last 5 years, the last period of time since 2019, when they have poo-pooed this lawsuit, this class action lawsuit, when they have told all of you that there is nothing to worry about. I have lost some faith, some of the little faith that I had in NAR's ability to connect with people outside of real estate. Just think about it. We put our eggs in the basket of the largest association, the largest trade group in the country, to go and to educate folks in Kansas City, Missouri on how real estate commissions work and how there is not an overwhelming conspiracy. NAR's final statement was to tell the jurors to use their common sense. How demeaning and degrading was NAR in their final statements towards the jury, which took 2 hours and 28 minutes to decide. In an hour and a half, they asked for the calculator exhibit to calculate the damages. So they had already decided well into the first hour. And it's because of NAR's inability to articulate what is real and what is not to the common man and woman. Now, there were more men on this jury than women. I think there was 7 men and 1 female, which is confusing. Women are more likely to be a homeowner in this country than men. So you might have had a jury made up of renters ultimately deciding the fate of the real estate industry. But NAR never had. They had a bunch of suits as their witnesses, suits of the industry. Okay, I've got nothing against Gary Keller. I think Gary Keller's a brilliant CEO. He's done a lot for this industry. Obviously, he was a defendant himself, so of course he's going to get up there. But NAR called people like Bob Goldberg to the stand, the CEO, and let me know in the live chat, if you're following closely what the inner workings of NAR, should Bob Goldberg remain CEO? We talked about that on yesterday's 90-minute live stream, certainly in the first 30 minutes, quite a bit. They brought Lawrence Yun, the chief economist, to the stand. They brought a lot of these old guard folks that are highly connected to the club. When the 5 plaintiff witnesses that were home sellers during this time period took the stand, never once did NAR, Keller Williams, or BHHS, but I'm putting the brunt of it on NAR, never once did they bring in a agent that served those folks to really get behind the scenes. How was this deal negotiated? How was this contract signed? There was never a listing agent on the stand. The people that are actually on the ground floor. Such a shame that it was just left to the good old boys and the good old girls club that NAR has built up for decades. Such a shame, because I would argue that they are really far away from the common customer, from the common man, from the common woman. So the jury in Missouri decided, okay, this conspiracy does exist, that this conspiracy was known by all, and they awarded full damages. $1.8 billion, could be as much as $4 billion with treble. Michael Ketchmark did a victory lap. I mean, if you've just read his comments, his quotes, you've never seen a victory lap quite like this one from an attorney. A showboater for sure is Michael Ketchmark, but he won the biggest trial of his career. That was evident by his mother and father sitting in the courtroom for the entirety of the trial. His brother sitting in the courtroom for the entirety of the trial. This was the biggest moment of Michael Ketchmark's life, and he ended up on top. Now, when you read between the lines, I'll read you his quote, and I will highlight what, to me, is what everybody should be focused on. Today, we also filed a nationwide lawsuit. This is reading from nowbam.com. Against the other major corporate real estate companies who are involved in this, along with NAR across the country. Of course, those companies would include Compass, EXP, Redfin, Weicker, United Real Estate, Howard Hanna, Douglas Elliman, and National Association of Realtors. Side note on that real quick. If you read the lawsuit, it also says, and others. Others, who is others? It's anyone who used the MLS in the country. So if you're at XYZ Real Estate, as TF would say, if you're at Banana Real Estate and you are an MLS user, they're lumping you in without naming your brokerage into this lawsuit. We'll have to see how that plays out. Our hope and goal is to free the grip they, meaning realtors, have on home sellers across the United States. It's time that the free market and the internet, here's the big word, we're going to come back to it in a minute, is allowed to do its work and to bring the savings to homeowners that they're so entitled to when they sell their homes. Who do you think jumped on that comment immediately? Let me know in the comments who jumped on the internet comment immediately. I can tell you it wasn't the old guard brokerages. It was a brokerage. It was Glenn Kelman from Redfin. He jumped on this right out of the gates. He actually published a blog. Change comes to the real estate industry. He highlights the damages of $1.8 billion. He then makes the claim, Glenn Kelman does, that Redfin has been on the right side of history. The size of the verdict already led in just the past few hours to at least one copycat lawsuit, referencing the one we just mentioned, with plaintiffs in other states, and with every major brokerage named as a defendant, including even Redfin. As a company that exists to give real estate consumers a better deal, Redfin is proud of our unwavering consumer advocacy. Redfin has saved our clients more than $1.5 billion in fees. Read between the lines. Redfin is drawing a line in the sand. And they're saying we're the ones who have been calling this out for years. Everybody else is in a conspiracy. Now, Ketchmark's quotes about Redfin, he immediately responded and said, okay, Redfin, you've actually recently admitted to your wrongdoings and admitted to your role in the conspiracy by saying, hey, we're leaving NAR because of the clear cooperation, because of the harassment lawsuits. But that's not going to save you, Ketchmark said. Your role in the conspiracy since 2017 is still evidence that we're going to use against you, and you will pay for your sins. I'm paraphrasing there a little bit, but you can go look up Ketchmark's direct quotes at Redfin. A tireless, lonely advocate for lower fees. Redfin is saying they have been an option of lower fees. And of course they have. This is a negotiated fee across the board. But that they have been the leader in lower fees. Even if the judge doesn't require structural change, Glenn Kelman says structural change is coming. The judge may take days or weeks to decide what structural changes the jury's verdict will entail, right? We don't have structural changes from this verdict yet. We have damages, okay? There will also be years of appeals about the legal standard used in this case and other issues. Now, I started off the hot sheet, if you're just joining, by saying this will be appealed. NAR's goal is to get this into, obviously higher courts where they can go suit on suit on suit and potentially have a better shot at the whole thing. For now, the initial size of damages alone will ensure major change. In the weeks leading up to the verdict, the National Association of Realtors already updated its guidelines to let agents list their homes for sale that don't offer a commission to the buyer agent. Okay, that was a big, mistake probably on NAR's part to okay, let's flip-flop a week before the trial starts. You had 5 years to figure that out, 4 years to figure that out. Traditional brokers will train their agents to give sellers all their options. The traditional brokers that are going to be in business tomorrow are already doing this. They've been doing this. They've been creating options. They've been innovators in the industry for years. They've always moved when they've needed to, okay? A bigger change may be afoot. Buyers pay the buyer agent. It's also possible that buyers will become the ones who decide how much a buyer pay a buyer's agent. Even without a judge's injunction, the local MLSs that agents use to list homes may decide to stop supporting cooperation between buyers and sellers on fees. In this event, many buyers will still hire a buyer's agent, but at a fee they negotiate. And so that's another one of Glenn Kelman's points here, CEO of Redfin. Now, Redfin is prepared for what the future brings. And they also claim that if buyer agents mostly go away, which I'm not making that claim. This is fear out there in the market that buyer agents are going to all of a sudden go away. I'm going to give you my thoughts on moving forward here in just a minute. But obviously this is a fear out there. If buyer agents mostly go away, Redfin will take market share. But if buyer agents become less common, Redfin will prosper in that world too. We run the largest brokerage website in America. Think back to Michael Ketchmark's comments. Let's let the internet work with buyers. Let's let the internet help buyers. That's what Michael Ketchmark, the lead attorney for the plaintiffs, wants the outcome to be. He wants the internet, the portals, to be what buyers are solely reliant on moving forward. And Glenn Kelman jumps on that. We run the largest brokerage website in America. We've built self-service technology for buyers to set up their own tours and to make offers. We'll use that technology to market the properties listed by our agents directly to consumers, taking market share from other brokerages. We may open that platform to other listing agents who work with us as partners. Well, I guess you don't have to call Zillow a brokerage because they don't call themselves as a brokerage, even though they have a brokerage license in every single state. But Zillow partners with agents and takes a brokerage fee, a referral fee from those partners. Now Zillow works with like 2% of the agents across the country. They decide, okay, well, we think these agents are the best at closing these deals. We're going to work with them. We're going to take a referral fee now up to 40% starting January 1. And I would argue that Zillow's website is just a wee bit bigger than Redfin's. Just look at the traffic, look at the data, and look at your consumers coming into your open house. Hey, where'd you hear about the open house? 7 out of 10, I would argue, are gonna tell you Zillow. They're not going to mention your brokerage's website. They don't mention Zillow. It's probably Realtor.com, RDC. Maybe it's Redfin in particular markets, but it's more often than not Zillow. Zillow, by the way, today, if you're just joining, just announced they bought Follow Up Boss. So in their mission to build a super app, they just purchased Follow Up Boss, 400 million plus another 200 million. It's a bigger number than the number that was just announced for Boomtown's acquisition earlier in the year. And so Zillow, this deal's been obviously in the works. It didn't come together yesterday afternoon and they announced it today. Obviously, it's been a long time where the Follow Up Boss is in the works. But for Ketchmark's remarks of going back to his comment here, let's let the internet, and here it is again for those just joining in. It's time that the free market and the internet is allowed to do its work and bring the savings to homeowners that they're so entitled to when they sell their homes. Who's the winner in the lawsuit? The internet. It's Zillow. They're already closest to the customer. They're already buying up the best technology. Not saying that's good or bad for agents. I'm just saying that's the reality. Zillow's a big winner. Who's going to be on a head-on fight with Zillow? Collision course fight. Homes.com. Homes.com and CoStar is going to speak to the hearts of the agents. They're going to take the opposite approach. They're going to speak to the 98% of agents who have been disenfranchised by Zillow. They're going to say you're listing your lead. Okay. If you watch what Homes.com is doing, they just passed Realtor.com and Redfin in traffic. They're number 2 now behind Zillow. They're in position to be a big winner. By the way, if you look at, if you go to my Twitter at Byron Lazine, I retweeted Greg Robertson. This was a great tweet by the fabulous Greg Robertson, who does a pod with Notorious ROB. They're great guys. He says yesterday, a picture says 1,000 words, and he shows the stocks. That one, that's the only one that's green at top. That's CoStar Group. CoStar Group owns Homes.com. Andy Florence in big position here to capitalize with his message. Everybody else down. Compass, Zillow. I think Zillow probably pops on the Follow-Up Boss today. We'll take a look in a second. Redfin, Remax, Anywhere, EXPI, down. I think it was yesterday was a buy low opportunity for Zillow. I wouldn't touch Redfin. I'm not touching any of these other ones here on the list personally. CoStar's already a $30 billion market cap. I think they're pretty safe bet moving forward. I do believe they're going to become a player in residential. But I thought that was a great tweet. In fact, when I retweeted it, Spencer Raskoff, former CEO of Zillow, hit the like button. I don't know. Maybe I don't think he's rooting for Zillow to go down. He probably is a huge stockholder, but he certainly hit the like button on the general theme that a picture says 1,000 words. Just looking today, the market is open, obviously, right now. I'm not singling anybody out. I'll pick a few here. Look at EXP, down another 5.8% today. Let's take a look at Anywhere, which was one of the ones that got out here and settled. Let's take a look at Anywhere stock. Why you messing with me, Google? Give me what I need here. I'll go to Yahoo Finance. Okay, so Anywhere is down on the day 1.93%. Let's take a look at Compass. Okay, See where Compass is at. They're just got named in that new lawsuit. They're down under $2. They're down 2.27% here. Let's take a look at Redfin. Where's Redfin at? They're down again today. So in real time, market being open right now, in real time, we're seeing that these stocks are all still down. I can take a look at Zillow stock. Let's see if the news has hit investors that we just mentioned. Zillow stock is down a little bit today. Okay, but they look at this. This is probably the follow-up boss news here. They were down, coming in, and then popped up. So maybe they go green later today based off the acquisition news. They have an earnings call at 5 p.m. tonight. Q3 earnings for Zillow. So depending on those numbers, depending on how the market reacts to the follow-up boss acquisition, which if you're just joining us, Zillow bought out follow-up boss, $400 million plus another $200 million in future assets or future compensation rather. We'll see how that stock obviously reacts. But initially yesterday, these stocks were down. Lance Lambert captured it perfectly on Twitter. Jury just awarded plaintiffs in the Sitzer Burnett buyer broker commission class action lawsuit damages of $1.8 billion. You had Redfin. Look at all at the same time. You had Redfin, you had Zillow, and you had Open Door. He puts on there. Open Doors. They should change their name to Closed Door. Okay, Zillow's going to buy them soon. But at the same time, all these major stocks that he's tracking go to the downside based off of the news. I would argue that investors are just trying to feel it out, and the downside on the brokerages is probably a legitimate bet. But going on the downside on Zillow, or obviously, we saw Homes.com, CoStar rather, go up. Going on the downside of those major internet companies is probably not a good play. I think Michael Ketchmark was right in his analysis, not necessarily that that's the way it should be. I don't think buyers should use the internet as their representation, but that's who the winner is potentially going forward. So what should agents do going forward? Number one, be in our community in BAMX. We're passionate about making change in this industry with NAR in particular. Okay. We're passionate about high level of professionals having a place to come together that, quite frankly, NAR hasn't provided for the professional. So get into BAMX. We have a code hot on this show every single day to get 10% off of BAMX. You can get in with all of our courses, all of our extra content, our live streams, obviously the daily downloads that I do on the hot sheet. If you're new to the hot sheet, we do the daily downloads every single day from this show on BAMX. So be in a community that's relevant moving forward. The next thing is, and I'm going to come out with a list. I've got about 11 bullet points of a plan. I think it's going to be out later today on a PDF. So we'll get you access to that. Obviously, BAMX members, you'll be notified right away. We'll get it out, publicly as well on our Instagram and different places like that. I'm sure the Broke Agent account will share this. I've got an 11-point plan. And at the top of it, number one is you got to decide right now, all in or all out. Are you going to be a full-time professional? Part-time professionals are not going to make it. Can you have a part-time job and work full-time real estate? Yeah, you can. You've just joined the Elon Musk Club. You're going to be working 80 hours a week. Nothing wrong with that, by the way. It's the American dream. It's the American dream that Redfin is trying to destroy, by the way. Okay, you being somebody who's working hard, who's serving a lot of customers in home ownership, that's an American dream that Redfin is absolutely trying to destroy. Check out this tweet from Daryl Fairweather. Daryl Fairweather is an economist with Redfin. She's been there a long time. It was unclear whether a jury would understand the economics of price fixing well enough to see NAR's rule of having the seller pay the buyer's agent as a scheme to prevent competition, but they did. Bravo to the prosecutors for their economics communication skills. Of course, I took it upon myself to subtweet Daryl Fairweather's tweet. Redfin has always hated the American dream. Folks, people like Michael Ketchmark hate the American dream, the lead attorney for the plaintiffs. This judge clearly hates the American dream. The American dream of being able to go out and buy a home with a 30-year fixed mortgage, have representation through the process so that you do it right, get what you're paying for. Most countries don't have a 30-year fixed loan. The 30-year fixed loan is by far, even at 8%, even at 8% over 30 years fixed. I know we complain about it today because we got used to 3%, but most people in most countries would be like, where are those available? Sign me up. They don't exist. The 30-year fixed loan is the greatest wealth builder in American history. Besides the stock market ride that the baby boomers went on with their 401ks, the 30-year fixed is the greatest wealth builder in American history. You provide that opportunity for people. But there are people that are trying to destroy it. Daryl Fairweather, Glenn Kelman at Redfin, they're trying to destroy that American dream with their hatred for the industry. The judge on this case, Michael Ketchmark, trying to destroy this American dream opportunity. And so my challenge to agents today is you've got to decide whether you're all in. Are you going to be a full-time professional? Or are you going to be one of the problems that NAR has perpetuated throughout this industry, that anybody, the standard is so low that anybody can help people with their biggest financial asset? When anybody can do it, you're going to have some people disappointed in the outcome. When anybody can do it, you're going to have some agents that don't articulate in good faith their value proposition, that don't understand how to negotiate. So am I drawing a line between part-timers and full-time professionals? You're damn right I am. Is the broke agent right now, maybe my partner here at BAM, may be upset with me because we're here for everybody? Maybe he is. I'm not saying you can't have a part-time gig. You should have a part-time gig if you're not paying your bills and you're building your career. What I'm saying is you've got to work this thing full-time. You've got to be all in on this business right now because the stakes are that high. You're also entering the hardest 4 months of the market. And as we do every single morning here on the Hot Sheet, this is why we created this show back in January, to prepare you for these moments, to prepare you for not only the hard economy that we're being hit with and the hardest housing market we've ever faced right now this winter coming to a town near you, but also these looming lawsuits that are coming down the pike, and more of them are going to come. Watch the copycat lawsuits come. But it's to be prepared every single day. It's why we started this in January. Let's be the freaking most knowledgeable professionals in our market that are training every single day, that are being prepared to explain the macro to the micro every single day, that are doing what it takes to be a standout brand and a high-level professional. If you get married, do you want your wedding planner showing up with no presence, with no ability to perform a perfect day? If you're going in for surgery, do you want your doctor to be full-time or part-time? If you're going in for your largest financial asset, have the expectation that the consumer wants you to be a true pro, and then deliver that true professionalism, because this is what's going on in the market today. And this is what we talk about on the Hot Sheet every single day. If you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and do it and hit the bell. We do this every Monday through Friday, 9:30 on the East, 6:30 on the West. We don't put up static images at BAM. That's not what this type of media company is. We freaking get in the dirt with you every single day. The lock-in effect. It's not the only reason for housing supply woes. This is coming straight from Fannie Mae. Okay. Vice President and Deputy Chief Economist, along with the market research advisor. The unintended consequence of the policy response to C-19, the panty, was a dramatic decline in mortgage rates that allowed millions of homeowners to refinance their mortgage rates at rates well below current levels. Additionally, as housing needs changed and the mortgage rates moved lower, home sales jumped, growing approximately 14% from 19 to 21 compared to a much slower 1% increase from 18 to 19. We blew so much money into the system. And this is why we're watching Jerome Powell today. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to break down every word of what Jerome Powell says about housing in particular. They blew so much money into the system, and they had to put on the brakes at rapid speed. It's like going 100 and slamming on the brakes. And that's what they did to these interest rates. And now we're feeling the pain of these restrictive policies. When they're meeting for the second day today, the Fed's going to have to decide, are we going to let this 10-year treasury just get out of control and cripple the economy? Because that is what table stakes looks like right now. These are the things the professionals need to be talking about, training on, articulate in each and every single day. In 2022, mortgage rates doubled. That's the brakes. Consumers adjusted to those rising rates. But that adjustment has, as we all know, reduced the amount of buyers that are in the game. It's reduced the amount of demand that's possible for you to work with. The opportunity for the agent is 4 million sales, maybe 3.96 right now over the next 12 months, not 6.5 million. It's smaller. It's why I'm mentioning, hey, there probably isn't a need for people who aren't all in. A survey suggests that a combination of financial and non-financial factors, including the pandemic, including home remodeling, demographic shifts, and declining consumer mobility, are contributing to the low supply of existing homes for sale. This doesn't change in the foreseeable future, folks. While the mortgage rate lock-in effect is a factor, other changes such as generational shifts and older homeowners aging out of their homes may be necessary to incentivize more homeowners to put their homes on the market. Even if mortgages rate decline, surge in home listings is not expected without these additional factors changing. The generational shift in older homeowners is probably 10 years away. I talk about this quite a bit. When do I think there's going to be an inventory surplus? When the boomers are actually aging out 10, 15, maybe even as many as 20 years with how healthy the boomers look today. When they're done, that's when we're going to have an abundance of inventory. But over the next year to 5 years, over the next 6 months, this winter, just be prepared that a professional who's all in on their business, who's married to this thing, think Ari Gold in Entourage. He had the phone, 2 phones working. If you don't like being on the phone all the time, real estate's going to be a tough nut to crack. I'm telling you, you've got to be closer to the customer. When Michael Ketchmark said in his victory lap quotes yesterday after the trial that let's hand this buy side over to the internet, he's talking about Zillow and Redfin. And he's saying that they can be closer to the customer and serve the customer at a discount. So unless you're doing this, unless you're in your community, unless your brand is relevant in your local neighborhood, then he's going to end up being on the right side of history. You've got an opportunity, though, to make sure that doesn't happen. It's why we do this every day. It's why we started BAMX. All right, I mentioned it yesterday. I do want to quickly get into the 10 fastest housing markets in the U.S. If I'm in one of these housing markets as a real estate professional, I'm using this information in my branding, in my marketing, in my newsletter, in my green screen. The article's up on nowbam.com. If you want to get access to these articles right when the day they come out so you can use them in your marketing, sign up to our newsletter on nowbam.com. I'm sure we can put that into the comments as well. This is based on a new report from Redfin Data, highlights today's fastest and slowest markets while the buyers are still migrating to Florida, Miami, Fort Lauderdale. They rank as they're still migrating to Florida, but Miami and Fort Lauderdale rank as actually the 10 slowest markets. So a fastest market is when homes are selling quicker than other homes. Okay. So fastest selling markets in the U.S. in September, the typical home in Albany, New York went under contract in just over a week, 8 days, making it the fastest housing market in the U.S., followed closely by Rochester and Grand Rapids, Michigan. I'm going to just take a guess here. There's not a lot of north. There's a few northeast. You got 3 of the top 5 in New York. Northeast has the lowest inventory in the country. So you got Albany, Rochester, Grand Rapids, Buffalo, San Jose, Seattle, Omaha, Richmond, Oakland, and Indianapolis are the 10 fastest US markets. That's good information for you to be able to get out to your consumers. That article is on nowbam.com, and I'll give you the slowest markets. So if you've got a seller trying to reach for the stars in one of these slow markets, remind them, hey, this market has slowed down in New Orleans, Honolulu, Austin, West Palm Beach, McAllen, Charleston, New York, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and Chicago, which is tied with Nashville and San Antonio. Good content, obviously, opportunity there as well. Later today, we have a BAM webinar at 3 o'clock with Chris Benjamin. I was just in San Diego with Chris Benjamin. This webinar is on how to get 10 pieces of content from one listing. This guy's a master at branding his listings and going out there and using his own energy, his own social media marketing to attract listings, where he doesn't have to go through a portal to be able to do this and to pull this off, which is what Michael Ketchmark wants all the businesses to do. Michael Ketchmark, the lead attorney for the plaintiffs, wants the internet to run the business, not the agents. Well, Chris Benjamin, today at 3 o'clock, we've got a webinar. We'll have a link down below so you can join that webinar. Chris Benjamin doing a webinar here with us at 3 o'clock. So make sure you join that. How to get 10 pieces of content from one listing. And there it is there, Chris Benjamin. You can reserve your spot right online on nowbam.com or in the comments down below. Let's take a look at the 10-year as we await what Jerome Powell and the Fed is going to do this afternoon. Tomorrow morning, we're going to be breaking down. We go through the entire 45-minute, 1-hour conversation that Jerome Powell has when he announces the decision, which will be likely to just remain paused, no move on the federal interest rate up or down. We then take the 45 minutes here at BAM and we pick out every single time he mentions housing. We are going to play some of that tomorrow morning. We're going to react to it. I'm going to tell you what it all means from Jerome Powell's standpoint. They're watching this number closely because this could cripple the economy. A 10-year that continues to get out of control, especially with the U.S. still having to borrow money. We're at 4.801 today. That's actually down a bit. We also have a 30-year fix that's been bouncing between 7.85 and 7.95 since a week and a half ago, hitting up over 8. So we'll see where this comes in later today. Jerome Powell speaks later today. We break it all down for you tomorrow here on the hot sheet as we cover all things housing and economy as it relates to the housing market each and every single day. Subscribe. We will be going over the Fed announcements tomorrow. Any other news, obviously, that's coming out of this lawsuit, we'll be covering every step of the way. We also have a Real Word episode that's going up this morning very quickly. Nicole and I refilmed episode 295 of the Real Word. That'll be up later today. We also have the original 295, which was being filmed during the verdicts. I thought they would deliberate longer, so you get a flavor of both of those. Kind of a unique episode 295, which will go up. And I will go live at any given moment I need to as more news breaks. If you're just joining us, Zillow bought Follow Up Boss. That was announced today, $400 million plus another $200 million. So big news there as they try to continue to make the super app. They have an earnings call tonight. I'll try to fit that into the hot sheet either today, tomorrow, or Friday. Certainly, if they have a big pop or other added information besides the Follow Up Boss news, then we will cover that. So subscribe, hit the bell. I'll see you back here tomorrow, 9:30 on the East, 6:30 on the West, as I always do. A lot going on at BAM. Get on that newsletter. Be subscribed to the channel. And obviously get into BAMX with the link below so you can be a part of everything that is going on. I will see you soon. Until then, toodaloo.